Yeah, boy, Napoleon Bonaparte. Yeah, let's learn about him. Born on the 15th of August, 1769, on the island of Corsica, a slice of paradise floating in the Mediterranean Sea, under the French flag. Now, Corsica wasn't exactly a hub for future world leaders. More known for its delectable cheese and fine wine, it was a world away from the grandeur and power that Napoleon would eventually command. The Bonaparte family wasn't nobility, but they weren't peasants either. They were somewhere in the middle, a part of the minor nobility, not exactly rolling in gold, but not digging in the dirt either. Little Napoleon was the second of 8 children, and from a young age he was a bit of a standout. He was sent to mainland France for his education at the tender age of 9, where he quickly showed a knack for mathematics and geography. And don't be fooled, our boy Napoleon wasn't a bookworm buried in textbooks. He was a bit of a troublemaker, often leading his classmates into mischief, a leader in the making, some might say. But it wasn't all fun and games. Being a Corsican in a French school had its challenges. Napoleon faced discrimination and bullying, but he didn't let that deter him. Instead, it fueled his ambition, his determination to rise above his circumstances, to prove his worth, and boy did he prove it. In his teens, Napoleon found his calling in the military. His strategic mind, coupled with his fearless spirit, made him a natural. And the rest, as they say, is history. From the sandy beaches of Corsica to the battlefields of Europe, Napoleon's journey is a testament to the power of ambition and determination. So, before he became Napoleon the Great, he was just a kid from a cheese and wine island, dreaming of bigger things. So how did a youngster from Corsica navigate his way to the heart of French power? Let's dive into that. Born into a modest family on the island of Corsica, Napoleon Bonaparte was sent to mainland France for his education at the tender age of 9. It was in these formative years in the hallowed halls of Brienne Military College that the seeds of leadership were sown. He was a bit of an outsider, a Corsican lad with an accent thicker than a French baguette. But our boy Napoleon was not one to be deterred. He had a hunger for knowledge that was insatiable, and a spark of ambition that was undeniable. He devoured books on philosophy, history, and the art of warfare, laying the foundation for his strategic genius. Napoleon graduated from the École Militaire in Paris in 1785, a year early due to his father's untimely death. He was just 15 but already a second lieutenant in the French artillery. Talk about a fast track. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. The French Revolution was brewing, and Napoleon found himself in a world of chaos and uncertainty. Yet it was in this turbulent time that Napoleon truly began to shine. He showed an uncanny knack for understanding the complexities of war and a unique ability to inspire his troops. He was a man of action, leading from the front, and his leadership style was as infectious as a Parisian waltz. His first major victory at the Siege of Toulon catapulted him into the limelight, and there was no looking back. From the battlefields of France to the corridors of political power, Napoleon's journey was nothing short of extraordinary. He had the courage to dream big, the audacity to challenge the status quo, and the tenacity to turn adversity into opportunity. His rise to power was a testament to his indomitable spirit, his strategic acumen, and his unparalleled leadership skills. And that, folks, is how a Corsican boy ended up out-Frenching the French. But how does one go from being a regular Joe to becoming an emperor, you might ask? Well, Napoleon Bonaparte was no ordinary Joe. He was a man of charisma, strategic genius, and a knack for seizing opportunity. A man who understood that timing, as they say, is everything. Born in Corsica, a small island off the coast of Italy, Napoleon wasn't exactly born with a silver spoon in his mouth. But the French Revolution kicked open the doors of opportunity, and Napoleon was there, ready to strut right in and make himself at home. His rise began when he was appointed as an artillery officer during the French Revolution. He was quick to make a name for himself by successfully leading the French army to victory against British forces at Toulon. This victory catapulted him into the limelight and set the stage for his rise to power. But Napoleon wasn't content with just being a military hero. He had his eyes set on the big prize. So, when the French government was in disarray, he saw his chance and took it. With a swift and decisive coup d'etat, he seized power and declared himself the first consul of France. And if you thought that was audacious, wait till you hear this. A few years later, he crowned himself emperor. Yes, you heard that right. He didn't wait for someone else to do it. He strutted into Notre Dame Cathedral, grabbed the crown, and placed it on his own head. Talk about confidence! Napoleon was a man who knew what he wanted and was not afraid to take it. His charisma won him the loyalty of the French people. His strategic genius earned him victories on the battlefield, and his audacity helped him seize power and establish an empire. And that's how you stage a revolution, seize power, and crown yourself emperor. Talk about a productive Tuesday, eh? Ever wondered what it takes to win a battle? Well, if you're Napoleon Bonaparte, the answer is a potent blend of audacity, innovation, and a dash of that good old-fashioned military genius. Now, when it comes to Napoleon's military campaigns, we're talking about a man who was as audacious on the battlefield as a cat in a dog show. Not just any cat, mind you, but one that struts around like it owns the place. His audacity was evident in his willingness to take risks. He was a gambler, not just with his own life, but with the lives of his soldiers. Take, for instance, the Battle of Austerlitz, where he faced a combined force of Russian and Austrian soldiers. Rather than play it safe, Napoleon decided to pull a fast one. He feigned weakness, luring the enemy into a trap. Then, like a coiled snake, he struck, splitting the Allied forces and securing a decisive victory. It was a tactical masterstroke that showcased his audacious approach to warfare. But audacity alone does not a military genius make. Napoleon was also an innovator. He was one of the first military leaders to recognize the power of mobility. Back in the day, armies were like lumbering giants, slow and unwieldy. Napoleon, however, made his armies more like sprinting cheetahs. He moved his troops quickly, striking with speed and precision. This gave him a significant advantage on the battlefield, allowing him to outmaneuver and outpace his enemies. And one of the prime examples of Napoleon's innovative approach to warfare was the Battle of Jena-Auerstedt. Here, he used his fast-moving forces to encircle and crush the Prussian army. It was a textbook example of Napoleon's mobile warfare, a tactic that would later be imitated by many military leaders. And then there was his brilliance in understanding the human element in warfare. Napoleon knew that an inspired soldier fights harder than a mere conscript, so he made his soldiers believe in the cause, believe in him. He was not just a general to them, but a leader, a symbol of the French Revolution. His charisma and leadership inspired his troops, making them more effective on the battlefield. But let's not forget about the man's sheer willpower. Napoleon was relentless. He didn't know the meaning of the word quit. He could be outnumbered, outgunned, but never outmatched. His determination to win, no matter the odds, was a crucial factor in his many victories. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you conquer most of Europe before breakfast. Napoleon's audacity, innovation, understanding of the human element, and sheer willpower made him one of the greatest military leaders in history. His military genius not only won him battles, but also changed the face of warfare forever. But what happens when the unstoppable force meets the immovable object? Our story picks up with Napoleon Bonaparte, the French emperor who seemed to have the world at his fingertips. He'd conquered vast territories, won numerous battles, and reshaped Europe's political landscape. But as the saying goes, what goes up must come down. The first tremor in Napoleon's seemingly unshakable reign came in the form of a small town in Belgium, Waterloo. Now you might think of Waterloo as that catchy ABBA song, but for Napoleon it was more like a bad karaoke performance that cleared out the room. In June of 1815, Napoleon faced off against the armies of the 7th Coalition, led by the Duke of Wellington and Prussian Field Marshal Gebhard Leberecht von Blücher. This was no ordinary skirmish. It was a head-to-head, high-stakes battle that would determine the fate of Europe. And, as fate would have it, Napoleon met his match. The Battle of Waterloo was a crushing defeat for Napoleon. He'd been outmaneuvered, outgunned, and much to his chagrin, outlucked by the opposing forces. The invincible emperor, the unstoppable force, had met his immovable object. The combined might of Europe's powers, but the story doesn't end there. Napoleon, ever the optimist, attempted to return to Paris and rally his troops for another round. However, the French government, realizing that backing a losing horse isn't the best strategy, surrendered to the Allies and Napoleon was forced to abdicate the throne. And then came St. Helena. No, not a tropical paradise in the South Pacific, but a windswept island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Napoleon, once the ruler of an empire, was now the ruler of a rock. He was exiled to St. Helena by the British, where he spent the last 6 years of his life. The factors that led to Napoleon's decline are many. His overconfidence, his underestimation of his enemies, His failure to adapt to changing circumstances, and perhaps most significantly, his inability to realize when the party was over. But let's not forget the role of the British weather. After all, it's hard to plan a military campaign when you can't see past the fog and rain. Life on St. Helena was a far cry from the grandeur and glamour of Napoleon's heyday. His once opulent lifestyle was replaced with a humble existence, but even in exile, Napoleon's influence was felt. His memoirs, penned during his time on the island, continue to shape our understanding of the man and his era. So remember, kids, even the greatest of emperors can't conquer everything, especially not the British weather. So, what does a Corsican-born French emperor leave behind besides a legendary reputation and some snazzy hats? Let's dive into the aftermath of Napoleon's reign. Now, Napoleon was not just a military genius, but also a reformer. He brought about significant legal changes known as the Napoleonic Code, which was not only a cornerstone in France, but also influenced numerous legal systems across the globe. It provided the framework for civil rights, property rights, and a clear judicial process, which was quite a leap from the labyrinth of laws that existed before. Now, let's shift gears and talk about Napoleon's influence on military strategy. His tactics are still studied in military academies today, with his use of massed artillery, the divisional square, and the use of rapid movement to surprise his enemies. He was a master of the battlefield, transforming warfare from simple line and column tactics to a more complex maneuver-based approach. Beyond his reforms and military prowess, Napoleon's impact on the world was also cultural. He was a patron of the arts and sciences, and his rule saw the establishment of institutions like the Louvre Museum and the French Academy of Sciences. He also introduced a standardized education system, which went on to serve as a model for many countries. The Napoleonic era also saw the spread of nationalism across Europe. His conquests and reforms sparked a sense of national identity among the conquered territories. This wave of nationalism, though initially a tool for Napoleon's empire building, later became a force that contributed to the fall of many European monarchies. But let's not forget the gastronomic impact of Napoleon. The man loved his food and wine, and his influence on French cuisine cannot be underestimated. He is even credited with popularizing certain dishes, like chicken merengue, which was reportedly concocted after a battle victory. And that's the story of Napoleon, an island boy who changed the world and still had time for a good cheese and wine pairing. So, what's the moral of the story? Well, folks, it's that life can surprise you. One day you're a kid on an island known for cheese and wine, the next you're ruling most of Europe. Just like how you might find yourself in the office one day, and the next, you're the one in charge of the coffee machine. A position of great power and responsibility, I must add. In the grand scheme of things, Napoleon's life was a whirlwind of ups and downs. One minute he's winning battles, the next he's shipped off to an island again. Kinda like when you're winning at life and then you step on a Lego. You might say Napoleon's Waterloo was like stepping on a Lego in the dark. Ouch. So when life hands you a Lego or a Waterloo, remember Napoleon? He may have lost a battle, but he never lost his flair. And remember, if a kid from a cheese and wine island can conquer Europe, you can definitely conquer your Monday morning.